Good morning, good morning, good morning. Depending on when you're listening to this, it may be the afternoon or the evening, but either way, welcome to day 2. Hello, you got Mr.
and Mrs.
Smith, and we are your 5-day credit restoration instructors for this challenge. And we're going to dive into day 2, but let's reflect a little bit on day 1. You see, day 1 was all about payment history, and you learned a few things, or hopefully it was a confirmation of some things you already knew as it relates to what the payment history consists of. How well have you been paying off your debts previously? We also talked about, the percentages that go into payment history. Payment history is 35% of your credit score. It's 192.5 points that are a part of your credit score, but not all of your credit score. So as it relates to payment history, what you got to understand is it's okay if you're not able to collect on all of those points, but just collect as many as you can. And that's the importance of today, because day 2 is really going to put you in a position to understand what you can do as it relates to your credit score. And it's all about credit utilization. So let's go ahead and dive into day 2. Just wanted to do a brief recap so you'll know what payment history consisted of and all of the 4 letters that you can have access to start working towards bettering your credit. But now let's talk about that credit utilization. What is credit utilization?
Yes, and I hope you did your homework too from day 1.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about credit utilization. Now, credit utilization is the debt owed divided by credit extended. Basically, it's just a fancy word, you guys. This refers to the amount of credit you have used compared to the amount of credit that has been extended to you by the lender. So, for example, let's say you have a $5,000 card with a $500 balance. That's 10% utilization. If you have a $5,000 card with a $4,000 balance, that's 80% utilization.
So this is what you got to understand, because we heard of an individual who was wanting to work on her credit, and what happened is she was able to get a credit card with a $500 limit. However, she maxed out that $500 limit just because she was trying to use it, not knowing that credit utilization played a huge part in her bettering her credit. So what happens is now her credit utilization is 100% because she had a $500 limit and she spent $500. However, what she should do is go ahead and pay off that card either in full or at least get it down to where it's under $50, and now it's less than 10% utilization, all because she lowered the amount that she owes. So the lower your credit utilization, the better.
Yes.
And the higher your credit score will go just off of that one move alone. Now let's dive in deeper, shall we?
Yes. Now this is what you have to understand. What we're doing, you guys, over this next 5 days, we are addressing your whole overall score, okay? A lot of the times we have people who work with credit bureaus or credit specialists and things of that nature, people who say that they can better their credit, but they only focus on one thing. See, what you got to understand is that your score ranges from 300 to 850. Everybody starts out with 300 points, okay? So your goal is trying to get as close to that 850 as possible. So the available amount of points is 550 points. See, it's also said that with the credit utilization, sometimes you hear gurus or specialists, right, quote unquote, say that 30% is the utilization that you need to be at, you guys. And that's not necessarily true. Actually, 30% is the maximum that, you should stay away from that 30%. And we'll get into that a little bit deeper. Credit utilization makes up 165 maximum points, you guys. Keep in mind what I said earlier. You start out with 300. So getting this credit utilization under control alone can get you a maximum of 165 max points. What I love about the credit utilization is that it is the most impactful part of your score. And you are 100% in control of the points that you can get from credit utilization, okay? No guru, no specialist, no credit repair company can help you with the credit utilization. It is 100% on you. You are in complete control. I'll keep saying that over and over. Write that down on your paper in all caps. You are 100% in control of your credit utilization points.
And this is why we strongly suggest, highly recommend DIY.
Yes.
Doing it yourself. Because when it comes to these credit repair companies, they don't have a solution for you in this area. And it's the most impactful. You see that 165 max points that's there? You literally can get all 165 based on what you do. You see, we like to look at the credit utilization as like an open book test. I don't know about you, but when I was in school, I used to love it when a teacher would say, yeah, it's going to be an open book test. Not that I wasn't good or, wasn't going to study for the test, but the fact that I can take the test and I got the book right there with me increases the chances of me acing the test. So the same is applicable to your credit utilization. Reason being is that you have the book.
Yes.
You are taking the test and you have the book right there available to you, and you can claim all 165 of those points. With a little discipline, but just the know-how, and you don't have to worry about the letters or if somebody declines or tells you you can't get this removed from your credit, and now you're praying and hoping that the things result in your favor. This has no choice but to result in your favor if you do what's necessary by lowering their credit utilization like we're going to teach you. So this is very impactful, and this is a powerful slide, but this day alone is something that you really want to take and apply, because it has the ability to boost your credit score over 100 points rather quickly. And why do I say over 100 points? Because credit utilization consists of 165 points. So you can get that done rather quickly once you apply what it is that we're talking about.
Yes, most definitely. I hope you guys are getting excited, because I am.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about the good ratio. How do you calculate ratio percentages? All right, you guys, and we're going to break this down to where everybody can understand it. What you do is you divide your revolving debt by your total credit. Now, before I keep going, let's explain to you what revolving debt is, and then let's explain to you what installment debt is, you guys, because those are the two different types of debt that you can have, okay? So we're talking about the revolving debt, but let's go ahead and explain that. Give them the definition of both of those.
Okay, now, revolving debt is the debt that you cannot pay off. Example, credit cards. You never fully pay off a credit card, even though you may pay it off monthly and it may go to a zero balance. The moment you swipe, you're back in debt. So you never fully pay it off, and that's why it's called revolving, because month after month, week after week, is either going up and down, so it's constantly going around and around in circles. However, installment debt, you cannot run it up any higher than what the debt is. And two good examples of installment debt would be your mortgage as well as your auto loan. You see, you get a certain amount for your mortgage. Let's just say that amount is $200,000. You won't run it up above the $200,000. You just continue to pay it off, and your utilization goes down. But as long as you continue to pay it off, then you never have to worry about it going up. Same goes for your auto loan. You never go above whatever you borrowed for the car. So that's installment debt. Now, this is what you got to understand. If you had a choice of which one do you want to pay off, because a lot of times people say, yeah, I'm going to pay off my car, I'm going to pay off my home. But if you have some revolving debt in the form of a credit card, we strongly suggest that you pay your revolving debt off first, because it has the ability to hit you the hardest based on the interest rate and based on the fact that you never fully pay it off as long as you're using it. So keep that in mind. We don't want to assume that you know what an installment debt is and revolving debt is, so we just wanted to kind of elaborate on that. Now, as it relates to, like she said, with the 30% being the maximum limit, look, many people tell you that you should keep your credit card balances under 30% and you're good. Well, we feel that that's the max amount that you should have utilized on your credit card. Reason being is that once you understand it, you really want to start trying to get that credit utilization down to a single digit number, not just right under 30%. Because the lower, the better, but you do want to be using the card. Otherwise, you find yourself running into scenarios to where if you're not using the card, then they can cancel it or whatever the case may be. But don't just settle for under 30%. Strive for even more than 30%. Now, people with 800 credit scores generally have an average of 7% as it relates to their credit utilization. Just like I said, aim for a single digit number if at all possible, and it is possible because you have the open book as it relates to credit utilization. And 0% does not hurt your score unless you're not using the card. So if you pay it off and you run it back up and you pay it off again, it's okay because you're still establishing credit and they're saying that you're using it, so you're in good hands in that area. Now, this is what you got to understand about credit utilization. It's based on the revolving debt, not the installment credit. So even though you might have a mortgage, even though you might have an auto loan, that's not what's affecting your credit utilization. What's affecting your credit utilization is the revolving credit cards. So whether you have credit cards with major banks or if you have it with department stores, you want to get control of it because that is what's affecting it. The credit utilization is solely based on revolving debt.
Yes, and one of the things that I want to add, I want to go back to that $0 card balance, you guys. If you pay off that credit card, it is a myth that a $0 balance could hurt you. The only way that it can hurt you is if you're not using the card. What happens if you have a zero balance and you don't use the card? You put it up, you don't use it for months or months at a time. You can actually run the risk of the credit company cutting the card off. That will actually affect your credit utilization because now you don't have that credit availability, if that makes sense. So that is actually affecting your utilization. So it's not that paying it off to a zero balance is what's going to hurt you. It's if you pay it off to a zero balance and you discontinue use of the card. You just keep it active, but you never use it. They can actually cut that card off, and that is what can affect you.
I love it. I love it. And I'm going to just add a story to that because we were actually using our credit card, paying it off, using our credit card, paying it off, using our credit card, paying it off. And this is what ends up happening. And it's good to do that because, you know, you kind of want to figure out a discipline that you can commit to. If you know that you can go eat a meal, then pay it off on a regular basis, or go get gas, then pay it off, or go get groceries, then pay it off. Do those things so that you're using it. But this is what happened with us. We were using it, you know, for different things and paying it off, using it, paying it off. And next thing we know, they increased our credit limit because they saw that we were using it as savvy spenders, but they also saw that we were paying it off in a timely fashion. So they were like, you know what? Let's increase their credit limit. And that works or helps you out in more ways than one, which we'll get into a little bit more. But just get in the habit of paying it off based on how you spend and make it a habit so that you're using it on a regular basis, but you have that amount needed to pay it off. And what that does is possibly increase your credit limit automatically because they are paying attention, whether you know it or not. Next slide.
All right, so look, y'all, yesterday's assignment, you were to open a free Credit Karma account, okay? And you were to actually take a look, find your utilization and where you are in the utilization. So if you're looking at this example, you'll see she's in single digits, 8%. And I'll get Marcus to break that down in a minute. As your utilization drops, your score should increase. Keep in mind, this is one area that you are 100% in control of. So I hope that you're getting excited just listening to this information. So let's go through the example that you see on your screen right now.
Yes. And this is what you got to know, that your score may fluctuate based on your spending. So if you're spending a lot, it will cause your credit utilization percentage to increase, which may drop your score. But it'll correct itself once you go ahead and start paying it off. So in this example, this person had an 8% utilization, which is good. And this is based on 2 credit cards. If you can look close, it says that this person had $1,771 spent out of $23,500. So when you do the math on that and you divide you divide 1,771 by the 23,500, you wind up on 8%. So where does the 23,500 come from? It comes from those 2 credit cards down below. You see the Capital One Bank and you see the American Express. One is a balance of, or a credit limit of, $14,500, and the other one has a credit limit of 9,000. This person is using both cards, but they're maintaining a low enough balance to make sure that overall they have an 8% credit utilization. So as you can see on that American Express, they only have $280 spent out of 9,000. So it's a 3% utilization on that card. But on the other one, they have 1,400, almost 1,500 out of 14,500. So it's a 10% utilization on that one. But amongst those two, when you do the average, it winds up at 8%. So they're in good shape overall as it relates to their utilization.
Yeah, so imagine having multiple debts, you guys. One of the keys with the credit utilization, what you want to do is individually, you want to have all of those at least in the single digits, or at least as close to the single digits as you can. And then collectively, okay, the average of all of your debts, you want those to be in the single digits, or again, as close to the single digits as possible.
Yes, that saves you on interest and everything. So,
yes.
Let's talk about lowering your utilization. And this is a powerful piece. I want you to take notes on this. I promise you, this will help boost your credit score faster than you realize.
Yes, watch this video as many times as you need to, you guys. Let's talk about lowering your utilization. These are some solutions to improve it, okay? Number one, you can simply ask for a higher credit limit. Now, we gave you an example, our credit card example. We didn't call and ask for a higher credit limit, but it happened automatically just by good spending and being disciplined and putting things on the card and paying it off. That automatically allowed them to increase our credit limit, okay? Now, if you are not disciplined, don't ask for a higher credit limit. You know, just keeping it real with y'all. Don't ask for a higher credit limit. And plus, if you know that you're kind of struggling with keeping that utilization down, or if you know that your utilization is extremely high right now, you may be going through a tough time or whatever the case may be, they're automatically going to decline you. But another thing, if you ask for a higher credit limit, guess what? They have to pull your credit report. Now you have an inquiry on your report, all because you asked for a higher credit limit, but you're not really showing signs of good spending, good swiping right now. So it may be best for you to actually hold off and go into some of the other solutions that we have for you, okay? Marcus, go ahead and give them the second one.
Consolidate your debt. This is an option, but the key thing I want you to see in this option are the two words, be careful. We just want you to know that this exists, but we want you to be careful because of the things that can go into effect by you consolidating your debt. And this is why you have to understand doing it for yourself, because a lot of times people get into these debt consolidation deals and they feel like they're doing good things, not knowing the trouble that it can cause, all from revolving debt. Now let's dive into what I mean. When you do a consolidation or you consolidate your debt, this is pretty much you going to a bank or an entity and you're taking out a loan. So say, for instance, they give you a loan. And let's just say that you have a credit card balance of $5,000 and that's maxed out. And they give you a loan of $5,000 so you're able to pay it off. Sounds good right there. You just stop there, you're like, okay. So now what you've done is turn your revolving debt into an installment debt. You can't run up that $5,000 loan like you could that credit card. But this is where it gets tricky. Is because a lot of times when you use or take a loan, you have to also put up some collateral. And when you put up some collateral, now you're jeopardizing the ownership of whatever that collateral is. Let's say that collateral is your car. Let's say that collateral is your mortgage or the equity in your mortgage. Now what you just did is give the creditors the ability to possibly take what could be an asset to you, whether it's your car or your home, all because you did a debt consolidation and used their loan to pay off the credit card. So this is why we say be careful in that area, because if you don't pay your credit card, then of course you should maintain, have good credit, pay your credit cards, and make sure you're using it for the sake of boosting your score. But if you don't pay your credit card, it's really nothing they can do to you as it relates to taking things. They can't come take your home and come take your car because it's just a credit card. You might have used that to go to Red Lobster or go out to eat or, buy some clothes or things of that nature. They can't come take anything. But the moment you consolidate your debt, and use that loan that you got from the bank to pay off that credit card, now you just gave them access to the collateral that you had to put up in order to even get the loan to pay off the credit card. So that's why we say be careful. For some people, it may force discipline and make them disciplined because they know they have a lot on the line. But for other people, it may put you in a worse situation, and now you end up losing your home all because of some credit card swipes. So we want you to know that it exists, but I wanted to drive home the point of why you must be careful. And I kind of recommend against it, but it does exist. But when you hear the term consolidate debt, be wary and understand this stuff for yourself, because I promise you a lot of times people don't have your best interest at heart. So it's important for you to have your best interest at heart. And I know I spent a lot of time on that, but it was very important that you understand that so you'll know what you're dealing with as it relates to lowering your utilization.
Yes. Then let's talk about getting new credit. You guys, look. Just because you're on this credit repair journey and just because you have a pretty good score doesn't mean you need to apply for everything that you could qualify for, okay? You want to make sure that you have a mixture of both revolving and installment debt. And that's something that we're going to talk about in the future. But, you know, we'll break down all of the numbers and how many revolving you should have versus installment. That's something for the future days of being in this challenge. But keep in mind, getting new credit is a way to lower your utilization. And then, of course, just eliminating your debt, you guys. So many people, their utilization is so high, but keep in mind, you can control that by being disciplined and paying some things off. So let's talk about eliminating your debt, okay? Let's get straight into it. Let's talk about the debt snowball effect. Now, some of you guys are familiar with this. You're familiar with a guy by the name of Dave Ramsey. We don't necessarily agree with all of his methods, but this one is one of the things that he's a little bit more popular for. He didn't create the debt snowball effect. However, it is something that he heavily recommends to a lot of his students. We recommend it as well, but let us explain to you the way that we recommend it. Listen, the snowball effect is the fastest way for you to eliminate debt. This is what we want you to do. Make a list of all of your debt, okay? Next to all of your debt, we want you to write down the balance. Then what we want you to do is reorder your debt from smallest to largest. So go ahead and get your pen and paper. You should have already had it, okay? And go ahead and start writing down that debt. What you're going to do is pay the minimum on all of your debts except for the smallest. Put every extra dollar to paying off the smallest debt. You're probably wondering, well, where am I going to get some extra dollars, right? We'll go into that a little bit later, okay? But you're going to put every extra dollar to paying off the smallest debt. Listen, this is how it works. After paying off the smallest, you apply the money from debt 1 to debt 2. So think about what I said. Debt 1, you're going to pay that off. That's your smallest debt. Then what you were paying on that debt, you're going to add that on top of the minimum payment for debt number 2. Okay, now I'll give you an example. After paying off the smallest, apply all of the money from debt 1 to debt number 2. So here's my example for you guys that I made up. Let's say you have 3 debts. You have a credit card, you have a car note, and you have a student loan. And those are in order from smallest to largest, okay? Let's say your credit card balance is $10,000. So you guys, look, I'm not saying you're about to pay off $10,000 in these 5 days. That's not what I'm saying. But we're going to help you come up with a plan. Let's say you have that $10,000 credit card balance. Well, once you start getting some extra cash flow coming in and you pay off that $10,000 card, whatever you were paying monthly to pay that off, you're going to put that on top of the minimum payment for your car note. Let's say your car note is $15,000, right? So you're paying on that car. Let's say you're paying double, right? Because you're taking what you were paying on that credit card, and instead of blowing that money, you're actually snowballing that on top of your next debt. Let's say you pay off the car note, all right? That's 2 debts down. Now, what you were paying on your credit card as well as what you were paying monthly on your car note with the additional cash flow, you're going to put that on top of your minimum payment for your student loans. And imagine how fast you can pay that off. So this is why it's called the snowball effect. If you're looking at the picture, it starts off small. Then as you're eliminating debt, you're going to go to the next debt. So now your snowball is getting bigger and bigger. Imagine that snowball being your money, your cash flow that you can put towards your debt. And by the time you make it to that big beast, that student loan or that mortgage, you have all of that additional cash flow that you were using to pay off your other debt. Okay, so I hope that made a lot of sense.
Very well executed. So let's talk about the action step. Like as we always say, we said we wanted to give you bite-sized, incremental, instructional, days as it relates to this challenge. But we also got to allow you to take some action. You see, it's one thing for you to learn and listen to the tune of our voice, but until you take some action, nothing happens. So what action do we want you to take? She went over it a little bit, but we want to elaborate and kind of paint some vision for you at the same time. Write down your debt elimination plan. So that's a list of all of your debts and balances. Write them down. You might not want to look at it. You might not want to face it. It's okay. Just write it down. So now you at least have a glimpse of it. Now, we're not telling you to stay in that place. We just want you to write it down so you'll know it. Now, order them from the smallest to the biggest, just as we stated. Smallest debt to the largest debt. Now, write down some ideas and let your wheels flow. Just kind of brainstorm. Write down some ideas that you can use or do to pay down that debt. Here are a few. One, you can consolidate your debt. And after hearing me talk about debt consolidation, you might not be considering it because you got to be very, very, very careful with it. And I just wanted to at least paint that picture because I don't want you losing your home or your car over a credit card. Number two, you can minimize unnecessary expenses. And this is something that, Dave Ramsey and plenty of other people really specify because sometimes they're like, look, minimize your expenses. You need to eat ramen noodles for 3 months or 3 years in order to make sure you have every nickel, dime, and dollar to go towards that debt. You can do that, or you can cut off your cable, or you can get a little phone bill. There's a ton of things you can do to get rid of or minimize your expenses and take all of that available cash flow and start applying it to your debt. Do what you have to do. The third is increasing your income. Don't shy away from this. Many people shy away from increasing their income, but you shouldn't. So first thing I want you to do is if you work a job, you can do this as soon as today when you go to work or tomorrow. Ask your boss for a raise at your job. Just say, hey, I feel like I deserve a raise at my job. Is it okay that I get a raise at my job? Now, a lot of y'all are probably thinking, that's impossible. I'm probably not going to get a raise. And that's okay. Many people can't just go to their job and get a raise. But you don't know if you don't ask.
Right.
You have not because you ask not. So you never know, and you might as well ask. But this is what we wanted you to know. In the event that your boss is not going to give you a raise for whatever reason, we want to position you this coming Friday to get a raise without even asking your boss. But that's for a later date. So that's okay. Still ask, but we want to position you to get a raise without even asking your boss come Friday. So stick around to the final day of the challenge. Also, consider getting a part-time job. Now, we're from the group of people who believe that 2 jobs are for 2 people. So we don't recommend it. We more so recommend against it because, you end up putting yourself in a double bind when you have 2 jobs in many cases. But it is something to consider. You definitely just got to do whatever you got to do. And that part-time job might be you just doing the Uber or, or Airbnb or whatever it is that you can do to create some additional cash flow or selling things. But that brings us to starting a business. And the reason why we strongly suggest starting a business is because you end up putting yourself in an even better position because now not only do you have the ability to make additional money by creating some form of business income, whether you're selling a product or service, you're also in a position to benefit from the tax laws. People move to America to benefit from the tax laws. So now as a business owner, you're able to minimize your tax liability. So some of the money that you may earn, you get to write things off because it was business income, not wage income from your job. And I don't want to just spend too much time on that, but consider starting a business because it opens up a world of opportunities of ways for you to increase your cash flow. So, in addition, determine what your snowball money will be. Will it be something that I listed, or will you think of something creative that can create some more cash flow? And write down your plan.
Yes, keep in mind, guys, by the time we make it to day 5, We're going to give you some game plans. We're going to give you some options, and it's all on you if you take advantage. This is what we want you to do, you guys. Make sure the people that you invited to this group, you're tagging them in these videos. You're holding them accountable so that, hey, we can all do this together. We're giving you small videos, small steps that you can start applying right now. Take action.
Look, credit utilization is a big deal.
Yes.
A big deal. We can't stress the importance more than enough. 30% is accounted by the credit utilization. So really take everything that we've given you and apply it. Your expert credit repair agent down the street cannot help you with this. They cannot. They can't help you with this. This is all on you. I like to call credit utilization. I like to abbreviate utilization and call it Credit U, because Credit U is all about you. So understanding that, and now you really can take advantage of this open book test of you having or getting that whole 165 points that's available to you with the credit utilization if you implement and apply what it is that we've been teaching. So you can literally get your credit score up 100+ points by just taking the action steps. And it may take some time, but that's okay. But at least if you move in that direction, you'll be getting somewhere versus staying stagnant and not moving forward anyway. So day 2 was all about really equipping you with understanding credit utilization, the power that it has, and we want you to apply it as you get ready for day 3. We got some things, on the way. Still got 3 more days. We're already 2 days in. So make sure that you're applying what you learned, taking notes, and like she said, tag the people who you've invited to this group, because it's a lot that we can do cumulatively as a group if we're all focused on better credit and understanding it for ourselves. So you learned about credit utilization. You know how much of a percentage it plays. You know what you can do to start minimizing it, because the lower the better. Credit utilization is all based on revolving debt, and there are things that you can do in order to control it, whether you increase your cash flow, whether you get a higher credit limit, whether you consolidate, which is highly unrecommended, or you make extra money. Just understand that you can control this and you're in the driver's seat. You got anything else, Queen?
No, nothing else, you guys. Just take action, tag your teammates, get you an accountability partner, those that you added to the group. Let them know, when we drop these videos, and start working on your credit, you guys. You got this. Let's get ready for day 3.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Signing out.
Out.